used to be smoking inside.
No.
Now it's don't clean your trumpet, right?
Right.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us today on the Elation podcast. We have a special episode with Dr. Peggy Honoré. How are you?
Hi. Pleasure to be here with you.
Pleasure to have you here. And Mr. Gregg Hill, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks.
Good. Glad to got you by here. We ran into each other at the Folk Alliance not too long ago. And what did you think about the Folk Alliance, by the way?
I think it's great. I know there was a lot of buzz after and people talking about the direction they could go in and that. But yeah, I think it's gotten a little bit corporate, a little bit expensive. But for me, this past one was fantastic. And I think there's a lot of people that work really hard there and devote themselves to the cause and the cause of folk music. And it could always be better, but I think you want to present your ideas to that community with some respect and some reverence for all the folks who really just donate their time to be there.
Yeah.
So,
100%. But I enjoyed the experience of having everything in the hotel rooms, and they're setting up crazy different venues in the hotel rooms. We were talking to Jennifer Rowe just earlier on the podcast, and I asked her the question. I said, what's it like having this conversation with the hotels about removing the beds?
Wow. Yeah.
And she goes, it's $500 a night for them to remove the beds per room.
Yeah.
And you start doing the math, you're like, oh, no wonder why the tickets are so expensive. Like you start doing the math, you're like, wow. But something you never thought of,
Yeah. So what it is, real quick, just for anyone listening, Folk Alliance is all these folk people come together in a big hotel once a year from literally all over the world. Not as much international this year. And they have official showcases in the day and in the evening, but then at night it goes to like 4 a.m. where they clear out hotel rooms. Everyone crams in the hotel rooms for these mini sets by all these artists from all over the world. So you can go down that floor of that hotel and you can catch like 50 artists in a night and get 1 or 2 songs from each, kind of get an idea.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's pretty nuts.
It's pretty nuts. They do a good job. They do a good job. But we are here today to talk about some other stuff, correct? So I'm very interested to hear all that you do, because I know it's a lot for musicians and the city but let's just start a little bit about origin story and where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I'm a native of New Orleans. Grew up most of my life in Treme, actually. So I'm very familiar with the culture. I'm not here to learn the culture. I grew up in the culture. I'm a graduate of local school, Southern University undergrad, Tulane, for my master's, and Medical University of South Carolina for my doctorate in health administration. So been around a little bit.
Well, so where did music grab you? Where did that become a part of your life, was advocating for music and helping people?
Growing up in Treme, my father in the early 60s opened a restaurant and bar. It's still there today on Kellerick and North Robertson. And that was my introduction to the world of music, because all of the local musicians, culture bearers, they all came through the restaurant and bar. We had second lines in front of our front door.
Right.
So it's just a part of me.
Part of life, yeah.
Yes.
Part of the blood.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I get it. Growing up here, it's a part of every move we make, you know? Well, so where did you start becoming into the medical field of thinking that, artists truly need help in the medical side?
I got introduced to the medical field in my master's program at Tulane, Master's in Health Administration, and I was COO, CFO for a group of medical clinics in New Orleans, and then went on to the Medical University of South Carolina for a doctorate in the same thing. and got to work at CDC, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So it kind of, evolved around me and my interests in it. And once I was approached to become affiliated with the New Orleans Musicians Clinic and Assistance Foundation, it just felt like a natural fit to me.
Gotcha.
I was familiar with the culture. I was familiar with health. So
it kind of piqued both interests.
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's funny. I wouldn't think musicians and health go together. If you think about the lifestyle of a musician, between the cigarette smoking, the late nights, the drinking, the excess whatever else that comes involved in things, I don't think health and music have always been a good blend.
Well, you're absolutely correct about that.
Which would be why we need somebody like
yes, yes. I mean, you can look at some of the icons in New Orleans and look at, the ages in which they left us.
Right.
And the medical conditions that they had, which some of them was very preventable. But as my role now as president of the Musicians Clinic and Assistance Foundation, I see that as a primary responsibility of the organization, is to focus on the health and well-being of the musicians. And that includes to teach them, to provide them with the knowledge they need to do better. And it doesn't always mean, just access to health care. They need to know about food, nutrition, health insurance, everything, housing, everything involved with that. So when you talk to me, you're going to hear me talk more about the actual musician as a natural resource and what needs to happen to help them. Yes, right. I want to see the industry grow. I want to see all of that. But we have to protect the natural resource, which is the musician.
I agree 100%. And I mean, I feel like it's a very tough thing to do, though, to be healthy when you're a struggling musician, because you're going to eat whatever food the venue gives you that night. You're going to, there are certain things that you can't necessarily control, when you're a full working musician, especially, at the low end gigs.
Yes. Yes. And for us, we see those problems on a daily basis. For one thing, the health insurance system in America is tied to, it's employer based. And if you're only working gigs,
right, there's no employer.
You have no employer.
Correct.
To make insurance available to you. So we do make sure that we provide them with the resources, the navigation that they need to navigate through the insurance system, through the Medicaid system.
Does the state help?
It's getting tougher. It's getting tougher. The one good thing I'll say about Louisiana, even though we rank 50th in health status, you can't live in any other state and have worse outcomes than Louisiana. But unlike some of our surrounding states, we do have Medicaid expansion.
Okay.
Now, those rules are getting tougher because a musician now has to apply twice a year versus once a year. A lot of them don't have their 1099s or W-2s.
No, it's all unorganized. There's nothing going on that's 100%. There's no strategy or corporate system that they run through.
Right. So it's going to be much more difficult for them. What we are trying to do is trying to see, are there avenues that we can promote to help them get any kind of gig that has employer-based insurance. I mean, even if they, you can go work at Amazon even part-time and get employer-based insurance.
Yeah,
Can
no.
you do that and still have your music career?
Yeah, well, and it sucks that there isn't a system for that because we're second to Nashville, but we are the second largest employed based musicians in the country. So I want to say it's like 30 something percent of our employees for the state are musicians.
Musician.
So how do you not have a system to help that base?
Right. Well, that's one of the things that we're working hard to look on how to make that happen. I even had a funder from the UK, not from America, who gave us a small pot of money to see if there's some training
Right.
that we could provide the musicians. Delgado has some really great programs like music engineering, and after 2 semesters, you get a certificate and they can find a job, maybe with insurance. So we're looking into things like that.
I got you. What do you think is the most pressing medical problem?
We track that. We try to track it as best as we can. We know that 15% of our patient population reports with a hearing problem.
Okay.
That's either hearing total loss or with an impacted eardrum that's caused by some of the protections that
Right.
we promote.
Correct.
So we're trying to address that. We also know that a fair amount of them report with respiratory problems that could be as relates to, improper cleaning of their instrument.
Wow.
So we're having next
It
month.
used to be smoking inside.
No.
Now it's don't clean your trumpet, right?
Right. We're having someone come in. It's a instrument repair person coming in from Lafayette next month, and he's going to do 2 sessions demonstrating how to clean a brass instrument and how to clean a wind instrument. And you would be, well, maybe you wouldn't be. I was shocked at some of the junk that I see, mold.
Oh, I can't imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, just cleaning my coffee machine
Right.
is difficult. I can't imagine what gets through a trumpet,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you go eat that burger and play the trumpet afterwards. There's going to be some
Right.
stuff in there,
Right.
Yeah, no, I it's the overall thought. It's crazy how much it's been left like unthought of because the longevity of the artist is the only way you continue creativity, right? I mean, if
Exactly.
the artists keep dying young, I mean, we just where do we go from there?
Right. Right. Well,
And like I said, it used to be smoking inside. Now it's gotten to be different things. Where does like diabetes and all of these play into line?
diabetes, hypertension is another big one. And, you can't just say one or the other because we call them a comorbidity.
Right.
Because a lot of people with diabetes will also have hypertension. We don't see a lot of lung cancers because we're mostly primary care, and if someone is identified as having cancer, we refer them out
Right.
to other entities that can take care of them. So a lot of organizations come to us, and there's an organization out of DC that recently came to us. They're having a lung cancer summit in April, and we're trying to help them to get people to attend so that they can find out about things like lung cancer screenings,
Right.
which a lot of people don't even get referred to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would think, especially the old school musicians, there's a big ego trip there too. I know my grandfather was more on the, I don't really want to know what's wrong with me tip, than
Right.
so I feel like you'd have to deal with a lot of that with musicians as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The manly, I don't feel like dealing with it. It is what it is.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right. The wonderful thing about the musicians clinic, I think, is that we've been in existence for almost 30 years. So a lot of the musicians, even the new ones who come to us, they have this bond, this relationship with us. And I'm not going to say they don't avoid all of the health problems, but I think over the years they've become familiar. And I must say also, we recently transitioned to Crescent Care, which
Okay.
is a FQHC who's been in the city for like 40 years. And, so the musicians are now, embedded into the Crescent Care system. And that's working very, very well. Very, very well.
Awesome. Well, Gregg,
Yeah, and just to follow up on that real quick, that was done by Peggy after she came in with her team, just to really ensure the long-term financial viability of the organization. But it kind of stumbled into it from a PR standpoint, because I think some people got out in front of the story with an incorrect story. And the way it works in the media and social media now, then that was picked
it doesn't
up.
have to be correct.
Yeah, and the retractions happened later and all that, but no one really
Nobody
reads that.
cares
So
about-
there was
yeah.
some disinformation, but I
Right.
think you all are kind of past that
I
now.
think so.
Yeah.
I think so. We just had our annual appeal, which started right before Halloween and ended February 1st. And we had 20% more
Oh, look at
donations
you.
than ever.
Nice.
Than
Nice.
ever. And it was
Yeah,
the same
getting
thing
the
with
word out.
Giving Tuesday, which was about 2 months prior to that.
Right.
So we feel like we have gone into the headwinds and
Right.
made a lot of progress.
And then if I could ask a question, and I've heard you speak to this before, could you just give us a minute on, and this is where the disinformation was, what you were before and how it changed a little bit with your current partner, like from the musician standpoint, like if I'm looking at it, what?
Right. Well, from the musician's standpoint, we're just like 5 blocks away from where we were before in location perspective. But also, if you're a federally qualified health center like Crescent Care, you follow a team-based approach to healthcare where you have a physician at the center surrounded by support clinical staff
Right.
who provide care. That wasn't necessarily what existed prior to that. From a primary care perspective, there really wasn't a physician at the center of providing the care. So that's really a big quality improvement for the musicians. Also, if you need any kind of labs, you had to go to another facility to have that done. At Crescent Care, it's all done right there on site. And they have so many more wraparound services. Before, we were in a building and we had 2 exam rooms. Now our patients have 4 floors
Wow.
of exam rooms and all kind of wraparound services that were not available before. So yes, there was a financial consideration because we were paying a lot of money to provide to pay the salaries of the clinical staff. We
Right.
don't have to do that anymore. So we can concentrate on a lot of the things that I told you about previously.
Right. More the advocacy and getting
Yes.
people in the door.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, and so Gregg, how did this become a part of your life?
Well, I just kind of stumbled into it. I mean, I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, mostly based here in New Orleans, except for the hot months. And I don't know, it was almost 5 years ago now. I had a gig at Bufa's, and it was right before Christmas. And I said, well, let's make it into a holiday thing. And I said, well, as long as we're doing that, let's make it a fundraiser. And my wife is a dietitian, and she's a pretty into it, you
Gotcha.
know? And so I was like, well, this makes sense to do it with the musicians clinic. So truth is, I didn't even call them or ask them or anything. I just did it. And I invited some people, and some really great people jumped into this Christmas fundraiser at Bufa's, and we had a blast. The room was just soaring at the end of the night. No one wanted to leave. Anna Moss, God bless her, she jumped in, and she did it that year. I didn't even really know her. John Full, John Rankin, Jamie Bernstein, Evermore Nest, I forget, Daphne Parker Powell, I know was there. So there was like a pretty good group that first year, and like Anna Moss has been with it, John Full, ever since. And so it just kept growing. The next year we did it at Chicky-Wawa.
Right.
And then, they were kind of iffy on it. They didn't really embrace it. And then we reached out to the Broadside, and the Broadside has just been incredible. The Broadside pulled us in under their wing, and they've donated the space and provide a lot of expertise on the pricing of this fundraiser. So yeah, that was 4 years this year. This year coming up will be 5.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, I just kind of stumbled into it as like, I need a charity. Something I got to do to give back. And
why not get back to musicians?
Why not
right?
do that? And people didn't know about it. And so, yeah, I just kind of happened into it. But then when Peggy came, we just kind of hit it off, and it made it real easy to just be there. And our fundraiser every Christmas, which has turned into a really big thing. I mean, we've had some of the biggest names in town play at it now. And the truth is, I just ask people, and everyone just jumps in with a song or two. And it's not just about raising money, though, the evening. It's really about shining the light on the musicians clinic and musicians that want to come in and, say thank you.
Right.
And be there for them, shine the light on them for the night, a way to give back. Most everyone who, joins in on that has a story or some connection to the clinic and how it's helped them or someone close to them.
I got you. Yeah, I think New Orleans is great in that sense. We really have a great sense of community. We really do get together very well, and it doesn't matter where you grew up or what pocket of school you went to or whatever. At the end of the day, if we're all on the same mission, it's very easy to get together and have a conversation and grow together.
Yeah,
I think New Orleans is really great with that.
Absolutely.
But it also takes someone with a pure heart like Peggy to
right on,
to deal with the actual situations, but also to believe in the health and the care that it can give. But it takes someone like this to truly manage it and for people to believe in it.
Yeah,
because I feel like charity work and advocacy can get very blurred with the line
right.
sometimes, and there's always something to donate to. But when it's very clear pointed, and you can see Peggy's mission, I can see it. We just met. I can see it very
Yeah.
easily. There's not anything more involved than what you're actually advocating for, and I think that's important to figure that out.
Right.
when you're donating.
And that was one of the things that drew me to it too, is that, and you had touched on this earlier a little bit, and we talked about a Folk Alliance. It's a community of, it's the machinery really of New Orleans that is based on a couple of things: music, food, the architecture and the tours and the history and that. But I mean, I would think 2 of the legs would really be music and food,
Right.
and how this larger business community treats the musicians not well, and how culturally this community treats the wisdom keepers, the culture bearers, the idea makers, the creators in this town that keep the whole thing going and make New Orleans something special. And me being an outsider, I mean, I'm a real carpetbagger. I moved here from New York 8 years ago, but I went all in. I listened to my neighbors.
Right.
I learned what was going on. I'm very respectful, and slowly by slowly, real slowly sometimes. It's like New Orleans can be very welcoming and also very off-putting.
I agree.
Like,
No, there's sometimes where it's like we were okay.
Yeah,
you stay there, I'm here.
Yeah, you got to be really careful about how you represent yourself.
Oh, 100%.
But look, I'm just showing up trying to help, and I was just so filled with rage at some of the things I had seen, especially in COVID, about how people were being treated. So rather than just screaming and yelling or throwing rocks at buildings, I just like, well, how can I channel that into one of the things that is working?
Right.
What is one of the great things where this community really does help the musicians? And, the musicians clinic is that, because there's just, as far as I know, just here in Austin, really the only two places that have anything. So some of it, David, to answer your question, is just channeled rage, putting it to the good.
Channeled rage can work well in many places.
Yeah.
Many places. Advocacy is one of them. Well, what were the effects of COVID on the musicians? Have you studied that?
Not as much as I looked into like the Cancer Alley situation, but there really was a big push for us pushing, for the COVID vaccinations to make sure that people were aware of it and where they should go to get it. But I would say that, a large percent of the population was probably impacted more than the general population, simply because of the nature of their work. Even though things were closed down, they still were, amongst other people and not isolated as much as the general
Creatives
population.
don't sit alone,
Exactly.
We have to have that feedback, that bounce back, that person that we enjoy being around. We kind of have to have that,
Right.
Yeah, and I would also think it was really hard mentally to not go and do any gigs.
Exactly. That was very, very hard. And I wasn't at the clinic in the beginning stages of all of that, but there was some money coming through from some other channels, like for a gig fund, not with clinic money, but other money coming in to at least give people the opportunity to do a gig every now and then, as opposed to not at all. The one thing that I would say, if I could add something that I see that the clinic and the foundation, because we are a clinic and a foundation, and that is raising awareness about health and healthcare for musicians. For instance, we had a panel. I got invited to be on a panel at the Folk Alliance conference 2 weeks ago, and it was on health and health insurance for musicians. The invitation to even have that panel really came about because of NOLA Music Con, which was in October.
Right.
And we had one whole afternoon, we had 3 separate health-related panels that we organized with Xavier University. And because the Folk International folks were there and saw what we did, they decided to have this panel at Folk Alliance to focus on health and health insurance. So I think having us around and having us visible is helping to promote the concept of musicians. You need to be aware.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel about the new food pyramid that we have? I feel like a lot of the musicians would love that steak is number one, right?
I mean, you have to take it for what is not what it is, but for what it's not. I mean, and now you have to educate yourself,
right,
and make good, informed decisions. I'm not saying don't believe what you are hearing, but do your research.
I also feel like everybody's a little different, right?
Yes.
Everybody's a little different. I can probably eat a little different than you can eat. You can eat a little different than he can eat. It's just and little nuances and things for our bodies. I mean, we're all a little different,
right?
We're the same, but we're all a little different,
right?
And I feel like, and blood testing is the amount of knowledge you learn in
Yes.
doing your blood work
Right.
nowadays is crazy.
Right.
My son just did some follow up today, this morning, my 5-year-old, but we did blood work on him a few months ago, and it was we were trying to learn about his GI tract and his like DNA, how it manages things, and you can learn that his body doesn't expel toxins very well, so his flu might stick around a little longer. He digests protein better than he digests carbs. So before he goes to play his football or some activity, you give him a little protein. And also don't let him drink Gatorade because he can't process the amount of potassium and salt in it very quickly because he can't detoxify it. So like, and it's my 5-year-old.
Right.
To know that stuff now is such a great perspective of how to raise him.
Right.
So I would go back to musicians learning. If we could figure out some blood work and some advocacy to get some panels done, you might actually learn what would be good for your body and what might not be good for your body.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm so proud of the fact that with this transition to Crescent Care is that all blood work is done right on site. As a matter of fact, there's a lab on every floor of the clinic. You don't even have to leave the second floor and go to the third floor. It's all right there.
Well, there we go. You see, you hear it right now. Go get your blood work. Go get your blood work so you know what burger not to eat, okay? But no, I also think, in an overall perspective, I think in New Orleans is going to be probably one of the last cities to adopt all of it. But, as an overall perspective, I think health-wise, we're cooking better than we have been over the last 15 years.
Yeah. I, as a person, a native, definitely better than we were 50, 60, 70 years ago. Definitely. Because people they're more educated about what is healthy and what is not. And in spite of the political or the governmental slant that people put on it. I mean, you can read and figure a lot of this stuff out.
Yeah, there really should be no politics in food intake.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, I kind of like the flip. It just makes you think differently about food as a whole perspective,
Right.
But if anything, I think it's just eating more organically helps no matter what you're eating.
Yes.
Less processed stuff, which is what we all get as struggling musicians at the end of a gig. I mean, I used to do live sound forever. I can't tell you the amount of bad sandwiches I ate just because it was around and you were starving.
Oh, yeah. I know as a band leader, it got more expensive because you used to just get some pizzas. Now no one will eat it.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all. Well, so what would be an overall goal for the clinic in 2026?
Well, our overall goal is to grow our patient population of musicians, to make absolutely sure that we put them through the insurance navigation process, to make sure that if they have coverage, they don't lose coverage. And if they don't have coverage, we help them to do that. We are starting, we've already started picking up, when I say picking up, paying for some of their co-pays that they may have to pay, and even trying to get to a position where we can help them with their insurance premiums, because it's absolutely essential that they have access and coverage to care.
Absolutely. Well, and all the knowledge to deal with it, because the changes are every year now, right?
Yes.
With healthcare stuff.
Yes.
So you basically have to relearn how to file, how to do things almost every year.
And every state is different.
And every state's different, right. Well, thankfully, we only have to worry about one right now, right? But, so is there a goal? Because I know it's two different things. It's the clinic and the foundation. Is there a different goal for the foundation?
The foundation we're very, very active with seeking out grants to help us provide more advocacy, more prevention, more things that address the problems that we see. For instance, I had a musician, an elderly. Well, he doesn't want me to call him elderly. He came to me months ago, if not a year ago, and said, I'm a lonely musician, and most of the older musicians are lonely, and we need something to do. And he said, will you create a band for us? And I'm like, I don't have money to create a band for you, but if I come across some money, I'll come find you and we'll do it. Well, there was a Humana call for proposals of how to reduce isolation and loneliness and anxiety and depression in the senior population. So I applied and got it.
Wow,
and
good
immediately
job.
went to him, and now it's called the NOLA Music Masters. I wanted to say senior, but they
wouldn't
weren't
let
having
you.
it. No,
Back to
no.
the ego.
And we're collaborating with Xavier University and the New Orleans Council on Aging, and they're going to perform multiple times a year. And they're so excited, and they get paid to do this.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So I don't
great.
think we should be getting grants and using the money only for us. I think the musicians deserve to get a check also.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. It helps the overall perspective.
exactly.
Yeah.
Every lad, we have 6. All 6 of them are getting checks out of and it's a nice little chunk of money too.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, and money helps loneliness too.
Yes.
It's amazing how it does that, right?
Yeah, sure. You're
Yeah.
right up.
Well, great. Well, listen, I really appreciate all of the work that you do here in the city and everything you do for musicians. I know it's extremely needed, and anything that we can do here at Elation to help, please let us know.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, and thanks, Gregg, for coming, and
Thank you.
and I enjoyed meeting you at Folk Alliance, and it's fast community. That's how we work here in New Orleans, right? So now you're
Yeah.
back over here, and we're gonna do some stuff together. So I'm excited
Awesome.
about growing that. But please, if you'd like to share any website or socials for looking for the clinic and the foundation.
Yes. You can, the website is neworleansmusiciansclinic.org is the best way to find us, because all of our information is out there. Phone number, Facebook, Instagram, everything.
Awesome.
Out there.
Awesome. Well, Gregg, you got any music coming out soon?
Writing now.
Writing now.
In a writing phase now.
Okay.
That's all that's really going on.
2026, new music.
Yeah, end of this year.
End of this
Definitely.
year.
New album at the end of this year. It's birthing.
Awesome. Why don't you share your socials as well so people can find it?
My website's just my name, GreggHill.com. Gregg with 2 G's. Everything's Gregg with 2 G's. And then all my socials are Gregg Hill Music.
Awesome. Well,
thanks.
great. Well, thank you guys both for being here. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today on the Elation Podcast. And if you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.